Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Movie Pit. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and will begin basically my movie reaction thoughts. I don't know what to call it yet, really. I'll be figuring that out. I'm open to suggestions, but I'm going to start doing this. I've been talking about doing this for a couple years now. I've done it sporadically, like once or twice a year, but I hope to do this more frequently, and not just with new movies coming out in theaters, but also on streaming. And knowing myself, I don't want to do these. I don't want these to be too long. I don't want to do these too long. So these will really be kind of quick and dirty podcasts, hopefully, depending on the movie, obviously. I'm going to play around with making stuff spoiler filled or not, so bear with me on that. There will probably be things or movies where I do go full into spoilers. There will be movies where I don't want to spoil anything. With this movie in particular that we'll be talking about today, I'm going to go a little bit into spoiler territory. So here's your spoiler warning for that. So let's begin this series. It wouldn't be the start of the new year and the beginning of January without some sort of subpar horror movie coming out. And this year, it belongs to the first of many team-ups between Blumhouse Production and Atomic Monsters in Night Swim. It's also another feature-length adaptation of a horror short to be done by the director of said horror short. In this case, Bryce McGuire, who wrote the short and co-directed the short with Rob Blackhurst. He does it solo here, writing and directing the movie. Cast-wise, you got two heavy hitters with Wyatt Russell, obviously doing the rounds with Monarch, Legacy of Monsters right now on Apple TV. And Kelly Condon, who is coming off her Oscar performance in The Banshees of Inisherin. They play a husband and wife who move with their kids, Elliot and Izzy, into their new home to start a new life. But alas, their happiness is cut short as the mysterious pool in their new home begins to haunt them. And I say haunt them because it only does it when they're in the pool. That is until the very end of the movie, the final act, where it conveniently doesn't need the pool anymore. And then it becomes a body possession movie at that point because the water takes over Wyatt Russell's body. Because why would you stay in the pool the entire time, right? I made a half joke on Twitter saying, because I'm still calling it Twitter, I don't care what he wants me to call it, saying that this movie looks like the Amityville Horror, but with a pool. And kinda, sort of true, but not really, but kinda, because we get a sort of explanation of what's going on. And I say sort of because they don't really go fully into it. And because of that, it's just like an explanation. So before we anything, I'm not going to go beat by beat on the movie, but the movie does open with a little girl who notices a toy boat in the pool. And it belongs to her brother, who we see is sick because he has machines stuck to him in his room. So she goes to get it and uses the leaf cleaner. I don't know. I don't own a pool. I don't know if that's what you call it. And we see, she is struggling to get it, and the toy gets closer and closer to the deep end of the pool, and something pulls her in and takes her away. And we find out later that the pool has water that came from a spring or is connected to a spring. That part's not always really entirely clear, but the water, regardless, in the pool is enchanted in some way. And what it does is it grants someone what they desire, but of course it acquires a sacrifice to fulfill that desire. It's basically almost, this is the nerdiest way I can put it. It's like the soul stone in the MCU, a soul for a soul. That's kind of what it feels like. So yes, this little girl was sacrificed by her own mother, who, according to her, when Kelly Condon's character ends up going and finds her and goes to talk to her, she doesn't acknowledge her daughter, by the way, until Condon pushes it. But according to her, the mother, she was controlled by the water because the son was sick, and the son, of course, became completely healthy afterwards. That was what she desired. She wanted her son to be healthy, and she traded one of her children for another child. So there was that. And then there's also a portal in the deep end of the pool that opens up and leads to this underwater dimension I guess the best way to put it is like an underwater, the further from the Insidious movies, if that's really how you want to maybe put it. There's spirits in there, and all of them are evil for some reason. I don't know why they're all evil. The only one that's not evil is the little girl who we see again, and she helps out the characters that end up going in there. There is one entity in there that maybe is the leader. He's like this bloated kind of guy, and in the movie, when Kelly Condon, of course, is doing her research, she sees just how many people have been taken by the pool or the pool water, whatever this thing ends up being, and she sees a majority of them, and pretty much all of them that they show very quickly in there as well. But yeah, there is that. And as for the big bloated entity that we see him like 2 or 3 times, but that's pretty much it. He's not really a threat. There really is no threat other than the pool and then Wyatt Russell at the end. I don't know. There's just not really like there's not one particular thing where like that's the bad guy in the movie. The cast is what keeps the movie afloat, I guess. Pun somewhat intended. I needed some sort of swimming pun in here. But Condon is doing most of the heavy lifting as she eventually figures out something is off. Russell is at a certain point, because when they're looking for the house, Russell sees the house and he accidentally falls into the pool, and it shows him kind of a little bit of the future, and I'll get into that in a second. Not the future, but something kind of what he desires, basically. And at that point, we can assume that he's been affected by the pool. So when Condon is like, let's get out of here, Russell's like, no, it's a new house. It's just nerves. Everything's fine. So Russell, he plays, his character is a baseball player who has a condition. I think they said it was MS. It's obviously the condition that affects his nervous system. So when they're looking for a house, they're looking for a house with like a single floor, and they see a house at the beginning. It's like close to like the hospital, wherever. And he mentions that he doesn't want to live there because it'll feel like a prison. So when they find this other house that they kind of just see when they're driving by, they see the pool. He's like, this is a home for us. And he sees the pool, and obviously he gets affected by the pool, and he wants to stay there. So when the water starts to heal him, because that is what it does, he becomes the possessed guy at the end of the movie with like black veins in his neck and all around his body, kind of looking like radiation poisoning more than anything. And then he has like these black sunken eyes a little bit, and his eyes are a different color. It's just kind of an uninspired look. I mean, I don't know what to expect from this, because obviously I was looking more forward toward a demon haunting them, or the pool haunting them, and then it becomes this body possession movie. I don't know. Anyway, that's kind of what's going on with them. The kids are okay. The kid actors in the movie, nothing against the actors themselves. They just aren't really given enough to do. And if it followed the kids a little bit more, which it kind of looks like, because the movie does kind of toy around with who they're following. We follow the kids a little bit, and then we follow Condon a little bit. And then, Russell kind of gets, since he's infected, we don't get a lot of infected scenes with him. Not really. I mean, there's a scene that's kind of briefly teased in the trailers where he's like in the shower, and we see that, and that's more near toward the end. But a lot of it is Condon, and a lot of it is the kids as well, each getting their own, moments of getting haunted or attacked by the pool spirits. Again, I don't know what to call them. But there is a scene where they come together, which I kind of really wanted more. I think this was a very missed opportunity. I don't know, maybe something was cut, but I really wanted more of this. So there's a scene where they come together and they believe each other. So this is after they've both been haunted, and they just agree not to say anything to their parents because their parents are happy. And in a line that is in every haunted house movie, they say, "Who would believe us?" I think it's the daughter. I think it's Izzy who says, "Who would believe us?" And it's like, yeah, but like, and I wanted more of that because we already know that the mom is already, at that point, the mom is already expecting. She's had her own experience, and she's trying, to figure out everything. And there's a point where she's trying to get everybody out of the house. And I wish there was a scene between her and the kids when they're getting ready. It's like, we got to leave. There's something off with the pool. There's something off with this house. And the kids could be like, yeah, okay. It could have been very quick, but instead it's just like her and Russell, like going to the car, and the kids are already in the car. We don't have that scene. So I kind of wish there was a little bit more of that. On top of all of this, the movie's not that scary. The Marco Polo scene, which, is what the movie was sold on in the trailers, it plays out exactly like it's shown in the trailers. Besides the spirits showing up in the underwater dimension, there's kind of like an It knockoff scene that I think everybody who maybe has had been at the pool or has a pool has experience, where it's the little kid and he's swimming in the pool by himself. He's like diving for quarters because there's a scene where we don't see who it is, but we obviously know it's like the demon, but it's like or spirit or whatever is like throwing quarters in the pool when he's in there, and he's diving deep down for them. But there's, how there's like a little pool cover, not pool cover. I mean, there's a pool cover, and that's terrifying to be stuck under a pool cover, but, like a little drainage area for the pool and like a little hole. And it's like a little knockoff scene where he goes, cause he has a toy, and the toy gets over there, and it's like a little girl's talking to him, but it's really the demon, and it kind of pulls him in a little bit. So kind of like the Georgie and It, sewer scene. But other than that, there's really no memorable standout horror moments. I guess maybe because I've never owned a pool and I don't go to the pool very often. I don't have this fear of the pools and the deep end of the pool. And besides the fact that I'm not that good of a swimmer, but I can at least, swim to the edges and, hold on to it. But maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just, the fact that taking the idea of the deep end of the pool horror, it's not for me because I've just never been around pools, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Night Swim doesn't do enough, for me. I feel like it when it finally started doing stuff and building up the stuff, it was kind of already the end of the movie. And, it kind of falters a little bit. So all in all, sometimes because a horror short is good, and the horror short for this, it's also called Night Swim. I'll try to link it if I remember, to put it in the comments or put it in the description / show notes area. I'll put it on there so you can watch it. The horror short works. The horror short is effective. It really is. So because a horror short is good, it doesn't always mean that a feature length movie about it is going to be good, because you have to expand the lore, if there is any lore, and sometimes expanding that lore from a short isn't all that great because you're only making the short. You're not making some sort of backstory for it. And then, you in the end, you get kind of this where it's just water, or that leads to a dimension. It's like, and they show where this like pond is, or there's a lake or whatever it is that the woman who's describing this to Kelly Condon's character is. And you would think it's like, oh, it's this thing that's been around forever and it just got built over where the house is. It's like, no, it randomly shows it. So you're not really getting the best explanation for it. So I wouldn't recommend rushing out to watch Night Swim. As much as there was some stuff that I did like, very little of it. But once October comes around and it's on VOD or it's streaming somewhere, I'd say that, it's a good spooky season movie to kind of have in the background if you're, working from home or just need something new to watch and you didn't get a chance to watch it in theaters. I wanted to like it a lot more. It's a January movie. I know, last year we had Megan, and that was a little bit different because, that was, that kind of became its own, little pop culture bubble, if you will. But Night Swim isn't doing that. So unfortunately. But it's not the best start off for Atomic Monster and Blumhouse production, James Wan and Jason Blum. But, you got to have these bumps in the road to do something better. So there you go. That's all I got for Night Swim. I don't want to get, like I mentioned, I didn't want to do a beat for beat thing. I'm still going to figure out how I want to do these podcasts for my reactions or my thoughts about a movie. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. I will try to do my best to see exactly what I'll be talking about. I am going to be going out of town, hopefully at the end of the week. So I don't think I'll get to do a Beekeeper one. I did want to do a Beekeeper one. If I do, maybe I'll do a little bit later, or it will obviously come out a little bit later, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, if you have any suggestions on how to, make this series a little better, what you guys want to hear, do you want spoiler-filled stuff? Do you not want spoiler-filled stuff? Do you want maybe like a half and half kind of thing? That might be the way to go. But in terms of everything, I hope to, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, do this more frequently. Even though if they're short and sweet podcasts, I don't want to make these too long. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So thank you guys so much for listening to this. If you did see Night Swim, what did you think about it? Make sure to follow on the socials and go subscribe, follow the podcast on the multiple platforms we are on. I appreciate you guys listening. Here's hopefully to a great year of movies, and hopefully to a great new series here for the podcast. But thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys on the next one.